Hello, and welcome to the first in a series of webinars from the Hampshire Research School centred around disadvantage. By the time they start school, a child born into socio-economically disadvantaged family is already less likely to meet expected levels of language, communication, and physical development. These gaps only widen throughout primary and secondary school. By the age of 16, socio-economically disadvantaged young people are significantly more likely to leave formal education without good grades in English and maths. Here, you can see the attainment gap in England in months. This is a reduction of 0.3 months since 2023, the first drop in the gap since 2018. However, this remains substantially larger than pre-pandemic levels when it was just 9.2 months at its smallest. Children are defined as having a good level of development at the end of EYFS if they are at the expected level for the 12 early learning goals within the 5 areas of learning related to communication and language, personal, social and emotional development, physical development, literacy, and mathematics. These graphs show the size of the attainment gap between disadvantaged and non-disadvantaged pupils over time. The higher the line, the larger the gap. Early years, Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 4 are measured in months of progress. These attainment gaps are a major driver of differences in education and employment outcomes later in life. For pupils in reception year, we define disadvantage as being currently recorded as eligible for free school meals in the National Pupil Database. For older children, being free school meal registered at any point within the previous 6 years. Here we see the EYFS data from 2023-24. A lot of you will be familiar with these stats from the Education Policy Institute and the national picture around attainment for socio-economic disadvantaged pupils, but it's always important to revisit this and acknowledge the challenge we're facing. These graphs show the size of the attainment gap between disadvantaged and non-disadvantaged pupils over time. The higher the line, the larger the gap. Post-16 is measured by a difference in grades. And as you can see, the gap did initially show signs of reducing, but we've been seeing this increasing since the pandemic and each year after in all phases except post-16, where it has just returned to post-pandemic levels. In some phases, there's been up to 10 months of progress lost. Here we see the Key Stage 2 attainment gap in closer detail. Pause the video and have a look. For the secondary phase, the disadvantage gap narrowed by 0.2 months since 2023 to 19.1 months in 2024. However, it remains a full month wider than pre-pandemic levels. Our recent research on the drivers of the gap show that the increase since 2019 can be entirely explained by the higher levels of absence among disadvantaged pupils. The 2024 State of the Nation report from the Social Mobility Council states that among disadvantaged children, girls still do better than boys. For example, at age 11 years, 47% of disadvantaged girls reach the expected standard in reading, writing, and maths, compared with 41% of boys. Free school meal eligible children from some ethnic backgrounds achieve very well. For example, free school meal children of Chinese background perform better than the national average for non-free school meal children at Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 4. At age 11 years, 71% of free school meal children of Chinese background reach the required standards. There appears to be a closing of the socio-economic background gap in university enrolment between 2014 and 2022. In 2014, young people from higher professional backgrounds were 3.9 times more likely to be studying for a degree than those from lower working class backgrounds. In 2022, they were only 2.2 times more likely. This graph shows the percentage of children at expected levels across all early learning goals. What do you notice? What does this graph tell us? Hopefully, what you noticed from this data is that, again, in disadvantaged and non-disadvantaged pupils, there is, unfortunately, a significant gap. In further data from the State of the Nation report, we see again that children living in more deprived areas tend to achieve a worse level of development at age 5 years than those living in less deprived areas. The IDA-CI deciles are calculated based on the percentage of children living in income-deprived households within a certain neighbourhood. These neighbourhoods are grouped into deciles so that the 10% of neighbourhoods with the highest scores, the most deprived, make up decile 1 on the left of your screen, and the 10% of neighbourhoods with the lowest scores, so the least deprived, make up decile 10 on the right. The difference between the 10% most deprived areas and the 10% least deprived areas in 2023-24 was similar to the year earlier, so 18.6 to 18.5 percentage points. Have a look at this map. This map shows the percentage of pupils eligible for free school meals reaching a good level of development at age 5 years. Where does your school sit on the map? What colour is it and what colour surrounds it? How does this reflect the good level of development provision and results for disadvantaged children in your school? Looking at the Hampshire Research School area, the combined reading, writing and maths results show 26% difference in attainment between those eligible for free school meals and those not. This map shows the percentage of pupils eligible for free school meals reaching the expected standards of reading, writing and maths in Key Stage 2. Again, where is your school? What colour surrounds it? How does this affect your provision? Now we have a clear picture of what we mean by disadvantage. In our next webinar, we'll look at questioning established, widely held and potentially personal beliefs, ideas and understandings around disadvantage.